Welcome to the Liar's Almanac, the radio show and podcast where the truth can kill you or set you free. Now, here's your host, Liam Sweeny.
So this is Liam Sweeny with Liar's Almanac. This is our inaugural episode. I am here with Aliya Ali-Afzal. Am I right? Did I do okay? Okay.
Yes.
Aliya has a book that is amazing. It is something you really can't put down. And I would say when you first start reading it, you think it's going to be one way. And this is entirely something different. So I think it really just grabs you right from the beginning. So without too much ado, I have some questions for Aliya. And I just wanted to welcome you to the show because this is our very first show. And so let me go ahead and ask you, well, to give you a chance to introduce Would I Lie to You to our listeners. What's it about? What is the elevator pitch of this book? And who is Fisa and what is her big lie?
So Would I Lie to You is my debut novel. And it just came out in North America on Tuesday, just a few days ago. And it's a story about a woman called Faiza who lives in London. She is a British Pakistani woman. She's married to Tom, who's white, and they have 3 children and they have a really lovely life and are very happily married. But Faiza has one huge secret that nobody knows about. And that secret is that she's been dipping into their emergency savings fund, and nobody knows about this. And then she always thinks that, one day I'll put this money back. When the kids are older, I'll go back to work, I'll replenish this fund, and we don't really need it. And then Tom suddenly loses his job very unexpectedly. And this money is all they have left to live on. And she's too afraid to tell Tom. And basically that's where the story starts. And we follow Faiza to see what on earth is she going to do now.
And I love the way this whole story goes. I really do. Oh, but now let's talk about Faiza. Faiza is kind of an unsympathetic character when you start out. When Tom loses his job, she's on the phone with him and she's with her friends and they're at a beauty spa or something like that, and she is getting a beauty treatment and she doesn't stop getting the beauty treatment. She goes through with it even after he told her that he lost his job. Now the way she is, she has such a complexity in her character, so it isn't just that she's any kind of like a one-dimensional bad person. She's not. But how did you decide to keep her as bad enough to be compelling and interesting and good enough to not have somebody say, well, I just don't like this character at all?
Yeah, it was really important for me to make her a flawed character, because I think so often in fiction, women are expected to be, either perfect or villains. And actually, in real life, we all have good aspects and bad aspects, So I wanted to show somebody with these nuances. She's a good person, but she's done a bad thing. And the scene starts, as you said, it starts actually in a Botox clinic, and she's at a Botox party, and she's with her friends, and she's kind of trying to keep up with them because they've kind of persuaded her to come along. And she hears that Tom is about to lose his job, then he loses his job, and she tries to get out of it. And she says, can I please have a refund? And they say, so sorry, 24 hours notice, otherwise it's 100% cancellation fee. And she goes into this kind of shock mode as well. She doesn't want to reveal, that's her thing, but she keeps up an appearance all the time, Faiza. So she kind of goes along with it. And I think the compelling parts were, the messy situation she's in, because frankly, one bad deed, it's like a spiral that starts, it's like a domino effect. And that's what kind of keeps us hooked in. And she's done this one big thing. And to protect herself from that one lie, she has to tell so many other lies. But I feel that because we see that she's a good person, and we can find out later on the motivations for these actions. I hope that people feel some sympathy as well, you know?
Right, and you do, you really do, as you
Good.
especially by towards the end, without giving anything away, you are totally
Yeah.
sympathetic for her. You want her to do well. You want her to succeed.
Yes.
Now, the thing is, it seems like there's a kind of a dual lie here. On the one hand, you have the surface lie, because she's not a hero, she's not an anti-hero, she's not a villain. She's just a person caught up in this thing. And yes, there is the lie. There is the thing that she hid that could have, and I think that's with every great story comes from something that somebody should have done differently, and there wouldn't have been a story. So I think that that's really the first lie, but there was a deeper lie. Because really, she's doing all of this stuff, the beauty treatments, the clothing, sending your kids to the right school. All of it is this very keep up with the Joneses, to fit in with her social circle of friends, people who she really wouldn't have in her circle if not for their husbands, all having this CEO level, very high corporate level jobs. So she has this social circle. Yeah. And she has this social circle that she has to keep up with. And honestly, she wouldn't have even have been at the Botox clinic if it wasn't for this other kind of lie that that's not so much a deception publicly, but it's really it's its own deception. So what would you say about like the different levels of that lie?
I think, what I wanted to explore was the kind of very human need to fit into a group, right? So for her, it might be with these, what we call in England, the yummy mummies, the glamorous mums with the designer bags and all of that. But really, it could be, it's this human need to fit in with any group. So if you're at work and everybody goes for drinks on Friday nights to a particular pub, you don't want to be left out. You can't sort of step away from that. If you're with a group who plays a certain kind of sport, or, if you're playing golf, guys are very competitive about their clubs and the kind of equipment that they have. So I think it's like a human need to fit in. And for Faiza, the situation is that she's with these mothers from the school. And it's so important for her to be part of that social circle. Even if it's not her true self, she ends up doing these things because a lot of her children's kind of social interactions, and whether they're invited to parties and whether, things are nice for them, depends on the mothers socializing. So that's kind of the thing. I think, yes, it's about the Botox and the bags and, these, social parties, but actually it could be in any situation, right? Whether we're at work or anything, we do not want to feel left out. And there are always consequences to being left out. It's not just an emotional thing, which is a big thing as well.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's a lie we tell so much. I think we believe it, that we start to believe it ourselves. But now,
yes.
Now again, I think that Would I Lie to You is such a great title for the simple fact that there is even a further lie. I mean, there's the lie on the surface that she's trying to keep everything from Tom. There is the lie that she is doing all this beauty stuff to try to fit in. And she doesn't really have to do that kind of stuff. It's not like, it's not like she has this really physical existential need to do it, but she has to, like you said, for her children, she wants them to have the best. So she has to go through and play even at this expensive level game with all of her friends. But then there is the third lie, which is a different kind of lie. And it's not even a lie, but it's a society level thing, or like a global society level thing. Faiza is Pakistani, and she has to fit in a British society where she is the only one in her social circle. And she has this, when you look at her parents, who are traditional Pakistani, they are very down to earth. They're very like normal people. They're super normal people. They are the opposite of this social circle that she has to be in. And it's not that she's ashamed of them. It's just she knows what her social circle, if her parents come and become this regular visible part of her life, she knows that her social friends are going to be like, well, they're different, they're other. And
exactly.
So she has to kind of hide she has to hide her true self. She has to hide who she is and where she has come from. She has to hide that too. And on top of hiding, the on top of the Botox, on top of all of that, on top of having to lie to Tom, she has to lie just about who she is as a person. And that's hard. That's very difficult for her. So how would you say, I mean, there's a parallel to real life here, I think. I mean, this is something that everybody has to go through. I don't have that particular experience, but I have my own where I have to hide certain things. So how would you say what would you say the quality of a lie like that is in society that is being forced upon a lot of people?
I think you're absolutely right. It is a very kind of widespread social phenomenon, and it can happen in lots of contexts, right? Like you say, people don't like people to be different. Let's put it like that, right? And in Faiza's case, like you say, there's an added element of her being South Asian. And I found this very interesting to explore. And, this term that you used, othering, where just because of who you are, you're not accepted, irrespective of your personality or the sort of person you are. There's this external thing that immediately puts you in another box. And I find this very interesting because there's almost a pressure as well to choose cultures, and I find this particularly with South Asians, because I have friends who are Italian who nobody blinks an eye if they speak Italian or they eat Italian food or they are visibly, Italian British or Italian American, right? But when it comes to South Asians, there seems to be a pressure. You need to choose either, reject your culture or be seen as something very different. So it was really important for me to show Faiza as a regular person with problems like with lying to her husband and spending too much money and lying about it, and yet also be very clearly South Asian and be somebody who straddles two cultures really comfortably. Because that's my experience, I don't find a problem with culture clash. Me, my kids, all my friends, we're okay. We find our lives are richer like that. Whereas often it's seen as an issue, as a problem, as a trouble spot. And that's what was really important for me to explore this. And I think this is the trap poor Faiza falls into. You're right, because she feels, unable to really embrace both these cultures, not because she has a problem with it, but because other people looking in can't accept this duality.
Yeah, and we're gonna. I have one more question, but there is one person in this story that we are going to talk about. I think you probably know who she is. Yeah. Okay, so one more question, really quickly, before we talk about her, and I give you a chance to totally go off on her, go off with her, whatever. So it seems like she's cursed. Faiza seems like Faiza's cursed. At first, yeah, obviously she spent the money. That's obviously the original curse, the original lie. But it's like every time she gets to a point where she's just about to succeed, it's like, oh my, she's going to succeed. No. I mean, something comes back. She has to tell another lie, or a lie she already told is threatening to become unraveled. So she has to then patch that over and lose the opportunity that she just had. So it's like she is cursed because of that first lie, and she's cursed into every additional lie she has to tell. And so you obviously as a storyteller, you're escalating the stakes. You are giving her, but really it is bigger than that when you read it, because you're looking at the fact that she's got a lie she can't get rid of. I mean, she can't get back from it. It is like when you're cursed, unless someone removes the curse, you are cursed. And she seems to be cursed. Do you think there are any lies that you just can't come back from?
I think lies are very interesting, because sometimes it's not the lie itself that's the problem, but the consequences of it in a relationship as well, right? So when somebody finds out that you've been lying to them, I mean, the trust is gone, isn't it? I mean, imagine how you feel when you find out somebody close to you has lied to you about something. It's a horrendous feeling. And next time they say something, you start wondering, are they telling the truth? Can I really trust this person? And I think that's the real thing about lies, whether you're lying, whatever you're lying about, it can shatter trust. And I think that's what's at the real root of this and the real problem of this, because, it causes difference. At one point, she says, it's like a scaffolding of lies between herself and her husband, Tom. And it causes distance, doesn't it? Because you can't be yourself. So I think for me, it was really interesting to explore not just the lie per se, but the consequences, like you say, the kind of ongoing and potentially permanent consequences of telling lies.
Yeah, and there were a lot. Again, it's cool to talk about this. I don't want to give anything away either, though, so I won't.
No, please don't.
I will not. So okay, so this is going to be our last question. So we're actually this has been a really great conversation. Julia, she
Yes.
is
Oh my
quite
gosh.
a person. She is,
Yeah.
I mean, she really is the foil. I don't know if that's the right word, but she's the person that that you think that is pretty much standing in a lot of the way. I think that she, if you want to say that Faiza is a villain, no, Julia is the villain. Faiza is, she's got some issues, but Julia seems to be a big villain to this. Tell me about Julia. Tell me about Julia.
So I think what's really interesting is that a lot of readers have written to me saying, oh, we know a Julia. So Julia is a type, and I think Julia exists many places. And I think it's the kind of the queen bee syndrome. Julia has that thing that she has to be the best. She's very competitive. She wants to kind of control the groups and the narrative. And so in this case, she's also given the advantage of being the wife of a millionaire. So she has all that money at her disposal, and her raison d'etre in a way is to make people envious. She loves it. It just makes her happy. That's what kind of does it for her. And when it comes to, Fisa in particular, there is kind of this undercurrent of racism, and it's a kind of a microaggressions kind of racism, which I found really interesting to explore, because it isn't necessarily what you would expect. So this is very polite London society. This is a very liberal cosmopolitan dinner party set who believe themselves not to be racist. And yet she makes these little remarks, continuously othering her, questioning her, saying, oh, her food is too spicy, questioning whether her mother speaks English. It's just strange, random questions for no reason. And so that's, sadly, I've come across Julia's, and as my readers say, they have as well. In this case, it was a lot about microaggressions and this underlying racism, but other people have come across, just a competitive streak. If somebody is, upset that another person is maybe younger than them or has something that they don't have or is more popular, they cannot stand it.
I have to wonder, and this is just a strange wondering, but is Julia racist against Faiza because she's just straight racist? Or is it more like Faiza has a perspective in life because of her nationality that Julia can never have? And because she can't have that perspective, it's something she can't have. And she doesn't like that.
Maybe.
That's where I kind of felt that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's what I was saying as well, that, it could be with somebody who's younger or more popular or has a better career, because she just cannot bear for somebody to have something. And I feel like, especially later on when Faiza, becomes, starts working and stuff like that, she doesn't like it, because she doesn't like the fact that she can be good at anything, Oh,
I know.
It's a very competitive nature. I think it's those people who are queen bees. And I think any group of women will have come across somebody like that.
And everybody else too, because I know a Julia. I think we all know a Julia.
Oh my God, poor you. I'm sorry for you.
Okay, so I have a million more questions, but I think since this is our first episode, I think we are breaching that time limit. I would love, I could ask you a million questions. I love this book. I absolutely love this book. I can't wait to see it, rock up the charts, and I'll do whatever I can to push it up there, because it's just such a such an engaging book, such a it just so page turner doesn't even really describe it. It's such an engaging book. So
thank you so much. Well, it's out now in America and in Canada, so available everywhere. So I hope readers get to meet Faiza and Julia and see their story.
And I'm so glad you were my first person on Liar's Almanac, because there couldn't have been a better book for this. There couldn't have been a better book for this.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. Now we are on Authors on the Air Radio Network. I think I was supposed to say that halfway through, and of course, I forgot to say that. Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. This is Liar's Almanac. I may have to put a little edit in between there. That's fine. This is Aliya, Ali-Afzal. There we go. Make sure I got it right. And the book is Would I Lie to You? Only on Liar's Almanac. Well, hopefully not only on Liar's Almanac. Hopefully everywhere.
This episode of The Liar's Almanac with Liam Sweeny is copyrighted by Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. Thank you for listening.